Hello, everybody, and welcome to another edition of Chalk Talk here on the DK Pittsburgh Sports Steelers YouTube channel. Chris Halicke here. We're going to shift course from the NFL draft and start to look at the Steelers team or maybe potential players. And I'm sure you're wondering, well, if you clicked on this video, you're watching something on Aaron Rodgers. And at the time of this recording, Aaron Rodgers is not a Steeler. And so, well, why are you doing this? Well, because it's pretty likely, obviously nothing's for certain, but it's looking more and more likely as time goes on that Rodgers will end up, if he plays in 2025, that he'll be doing it in Steelers uniform. And so I do want to look at least something. Why could the Steelers possibly be interested in Aaron Rodgers? Because that seems to be the question. Why should the Steelers even entertain this? He's 41 years old. He's going to turn 42 in the middle, during the season. That's an old guy. He's not the four-time MVP anymore, and he's not. But I wanted to look at some things, both in terms of stats and on the film, to be like, okay, why? And the one thing that I noticed was in the second half of the season, when the Jets were pretty much already out of it, Rodgers' play actually got better. Now, part of that could be because he was, starting to really recover, really be fully recovered from that Achilles injury. He's an older guy. It takes a little longer to recover from that kind of stuff. His play did seem to improve. Maybe he's moving around a little bit easier because it's not as much of a chore. Coming off of a major injury is not easy. And the older you are, the harder it is to recover, and probably the longer it takes to recover. So I got a few throws dialed up here to really show that, listen, he's not the guy that he used to be. There are still concerns about possible off-the-field stuff, but just on the field, man, this guy can still sling it. There is still some magic in that arm. Probably one of the three best pure arm talents in NFL history, and it's still there. It's not the way it was a decade ago. So don't mistake that for, you're trying to say no. But there are still some throws there. This one's earlier in the year against the Vikings, and he just throws a dot up the seam, beating cover two. Really good design here. That's a really good cover two beater because you have, two verticals, two go routes here, another go route here, and then you have the tight end coming up and he's going to attack. And when you have cover two, which, this safety is going to drop back and take this deep half, this safety is going to take that deep half, this middle of the field is going to be open. And what you're hoping for is whichever the safeties end up leaving the most vulnerable is what you're going to attack with those three vertical routes. This safety gets, a little wide, toward that go route. And this safety he's this safety right here, he immediately starts kind of backpedaling toward, and then once he sees that Rodgers is really dialed in on this throw to the middle, that's whenever he flips his hips and starts to turn inside. But that already right there is open, and Rodgers has to put some touch on that. He's got to get that over a defender, puts it right there on the tight end. Tight end makes a good catch. All I'm imagining whenever I see that is Pat Freiermuth and how happy he'd be to catch a football like that. That's right on the money, man. And not only that, but this is not necessarily, having all the room in the world. His right tackle is getting pushed back pretty hard. So it's not like he can really step in. Notice how that step kind of goes to the side, not really straight forward. It's almost thrown kind of a little bit. Not off his back foot, but he's not really able to really drive into that throw. But again, that's where arm talent comes in. What can the arm do to bail you out of out of less than ideal throwing situations. That's the best way that I can put it right now. Can't really fully step into that and drive it. I mean, can kind of step, but that's a dot, man. That's layering it over the top. That's a good throw. Again, I can just imagine Pat Freiermuth going up the seam and catching a football like that. Next play here, play action, roll out, and you got two guys closing in, and now granted, Davante Adams is wide open. Again, a lot of the time with these play action, for those who watch the Will Howard Chalk Talk, you're always going to have a deep option, which is this right here. You're going to have Davante coming in on a crosser, and then you're going to have something in the flat. You're always going to have a short, an intermediate, and a deep option. A lot of the time, I won't say always, but a lot of the time on play action concepts, that's what you're going to have. And this one in particular is a good cover 3 beater because this safety right here ends up coming down. And so what you end up having is this corner taking this deep third, this safety taking this deep third, this corner taking this deep third, so you're in cover 3. But when you're in cover 3 like that, usually you have, that's what it looks like in terms of zones. And there's always this window right here to exploit in cover 3. And that's exactly what Rodgers does. That's where Davante Adams runs to. And you can kind of see it. Because it puts the curl flat defender in conflict whenever, and that's why you have, because if for whatever reason this deep corner doesn't, if you don't have cover 3 or if you have cover 1 or something and this deep option becomes open, then that's your alert. You can hit that over the top and it's great. If you're facing, something like a cover 3, which is what this is, you've got your 3 deep right there, then you're going to make the decision based off of what the curl flat defender is doing. And right now, the curl flat defender is right there because this guy would have the hook curl. This guy would have the hook curl, and then this guy's coming down to kind of get the curl flat as well. And right now, the intermediate is open, which is what Rodgers, sees, and he takes all the time he needs, and he hits that, and easy peasy. But again, we're trying to look at Aaron Rodgers' arm. What he can do out of less than ideal throw. What can he do to do things out of structure? And I'll get into that whenever I close this up and why it's important. This is not an easy throw for any quarterback. To be running to for a right-handed quarterback to be running to your left, to flip your hips around, and to make that throw. Now, a lot of quarterbacks have to completely turn their hips around and almost get into a situation in which they're in a typical on-platform stance before they throw it. And when you have exceptional arm talent, as Rodgers has throughout his career, you don't necessarily have to completely flip your hips around. You can get away with kind of getting more parallel to the line of getting your hips parallel to the line of scrimmage still, and just release that. And again, he's got one defender right in his face, another defender closing in, and he puts that right over the top. And again, he lets that go at the 20-yard line, and Adams catches that at the 44. So we're talking 24 air yards there. That's not necessarily a short throw. To be running to your left, to be able to make that kind of a throw. Again, I don't care how open he is. Just like I was saying yesterday about Will Howard, I don't want to necessarily knock a guy for always throwing to the open receiver just because it's his first read. He's hitting an open guy. It's not his fault that the guy's open. It's not Rodgers' fault that Davante Adams is wide open. And he absolutely makes the right read here too, because the deep defender took away the deep route, and the curl flat defender, I don't know why you have two guys right there that shouldn't be like that, because it leaves this guy wide open, that's one of the vulnerable windows of cover 3, and he hits Adams there. But again, it's the arm. That's what we're wanting to look at. You're really going to see that with these next two throws, because these are more of the Rodgers that everybody should remember. I believe this is another play action, if I can remember. Actually, I think all these are play action, which, again, will work with Arthur Smith's offense because he likes to run play action. This one here, man, again, less than ideal situation. I mean, he's got a free runner in his face, does not have time to step into his throw, throws that off the back foot, and hits his crosser, and that obviously scores a touchdown. Again, man, what does the arm do to bail him out of a less than ideal throwing situation? And he's got a free rusher right at him, and he's thrown against his body here. This is a big no-no for a lot of quarterbacks. As you're growing up, if for anybody who played football growing up, I don't know how many times I would hear coaches yell, whether it was in Pee-wee or middle school or high school. I can't tell you how many times I would hear, every time I'd see the quarterback throw against his body, how much the coach would get onto him for it. Because the quarterbacks that I played with, they're not in the NFL. They didn't get college scholarships. They weren't good quarterbacks. They didn't have that special arm, so they couldn't get away with it, which is why the coach got onto him for it. When you have a special arm, you can do stuff like this. Throwing off your back foot, throwing against your body. Now, again, I keep referencing to Will Howard Chalk Talk like I did yesterday. Showed a couple of him throwing off his back foot. It wasn't against his body. This is rusher in your face, throwing off your back foot against your, and then throwing against your body. I mean, he's almost completely like right in the middle of the hashes here when he's letting go of this ball. And that ends up being caught at almost where the numbers are. I have no words. I mean, come on, guys. This is why. It's stuff like this, and this throw will if that throw didn't do it for you, this one should. This one should. Play action, really good sell. I'll get to that here in a second too. That's a ridiculous throw. That's the throw where you're like, oh, I can now see why that guy won 4 MVPs. This is so when you're trying to teach young quarterbacks how to do certain things, this is how you sell play action. Now, you don't always have time to do this, but certain concepts you do, and it also depends on if you know a blitz isn't coming, you know you have time to do this. If you know you're going to be hot, or you know you have at least a 5th guy coming, that you don't have time to do stuff like this. But Rodgers, he gets the hand extended, and it's this follow-through right there. That right there looks like he handed the ball off. And you can see from the other angle here, whenever he goes to hand that off, watch this linebacker and watch this safety. They both bite. I mean, look. I mean, especially the safety here. The safety gets completely fooled. Oh, man, he still got the ball. I mean, this linebacker goes up and goes to this linebacker right here goes up and tries to fill that hole where the running back is going because he's certain that he took the football. That's 2 guys that he completely fooled with that play action fake, and that's exactly what you want to do. When you're trying to teach young quarterbacks how to execute a really good play action fake, that's how you do it right there. And the other part of it is, where's the ball? Can you see the football? That's the other really big thing about selling play action. A lot of the times guys will do this play action fake, but they're holding the ball in a certain way where it can be seen by the defense. And of course, if the defense can see the football, then they know you didn't hand it off, and now you're just giving the defense more time to react to the passing play that's coming and get everything covered up. If you're hiding the football really well, then the defense has to take that extra quarter of a second or however long to make sure that he didn't actually hand the ball off. You can't see the football until about right there. And even then, This safety, I mean, you can kind of see him come up. That safety right there, that's the safety who bit on it. From his point of view, he still can't see the football, can't see the football, can't see the football. It's not until there where he's like, oh, shoot, he still got the ball. Well, too late now. That's a phenomenal play action fake. So that's just, Aaron Rodgers won't forget how to do that. I mean, he's been doing that for a long time. I just wanted to show that as a cool little thing. But this throw, man, again, thrown across his body, throwing, again, we call off platform, which means you're not throwing from your basic stance. If you just, drop back 5 steps, you got a nice base, and then you throw from that base. That's called an on-platform throw. This is not an on-platform. This is off-platform. He releases that at the 18-yard line. And that, I mean, come on. Back of the end zone. Nearly 30 yards downfield. About 27, 28 yards. And that's, I mean, he can't put that any lower because of this defender right here. It has to be high. Come on, man. That is, unless you watch it in full motion. And you can see the velocity on it there. When you watch it in full motion, or like in like regular speed, that's got some zip on it. And one thing I wanted to show is like, okay, well, how good does he still throw the deep ball? I have the stats pulled up here. EPA per drop back on deep passes, that's 20-plus air yards according to NFL's next-gen stats. And to kind of put this in perspective, Russell Wilson for the Steelers was number 2 in EPA per drop back on deep throws. That's not surprising. Everybody who is watching this channel most likely watched the Steelers last year and know that Russell Wilson can still throw the deep ball. We know that. That's not disputable. Aaron Rodgers was 5th. Not far behind. Number 1 was Sam Darnold. Number 2 is Russell Wilson. Number 3, Jaden Daniels. Number 4, Jalen Hurts. Number 5, Aaron Rodgers. That's better than Jared Goff, Kirk Cousins, Brock Purdy, Lamar Jackson, Tua, Geno Smith, Bryce Young, Trevor Lawrence, Bo Nix, Justin Herbert, Joe Burrow, Gardner Minshew, Jordan Love, Will Levis, Drake May, Josh Allen, all the way down at 21, Aiden O'Connell, Joe Flacco, Dak Prescott, Derek Carr, Matthew Stafford. That's a lot of names that he's above when it comes to EPA per drop back on the deep ball. He can still throw the deep ball. And the other thing about this is that he can throw the deep ball to the middle of the field. I mean, we saw it earlier in this, and that's something that the Steelers didn't have last year with Russell Wilson or Justin Fields, mainly Russell Wilson. So, yes, he can still throw the deep ball. He still has the arm to do it. And it's throws like this. And this is later in the season, by the way. This was against, I don't remember what exactly what week this was, but this was later in the season. This is, I think, his career 499 touchdown, because I think 500 came in the next game. That's ridiculous. That is the reason why. When we talk about why should the Steelers try to get Aaron Rodgers? Mason Rudolph is not making that throw. I think Mason Rudolph is a very, very capable backup that can start games for you and win those games for you. That's a valuable quarterback to have. It's not a knock on Mason Rudolph. He's not making that throw. He's not making the throw before that. Having to throw off of his back foot, across his body, and get it right on the dot with good zip, that is an all-time NFL arm. Again, it doesn't happen all the time now. That's what comes with age. That's why whenever Aaron Rodgers became a free agent, there weren't all these teams knocking the door down to try to sign him. Because he's not that guy anymore. They're not going to go, you have a number of teams that already have their franchise quarterback that aren't going to be like, well, let's go get a 41-year-old who can still probably play pretty well. The reason why the Steelers are doing this is because if you go into a playoff game with Mason Rudolph as your quarterback, a lot of things have to be executed well in order to try to win that football game. He can provide very competent quarterback play. But if you're not running the football, if the defense isn't able to stop the other team, is he going to be able to put on the cape and be a superhero and put the team on his back and go win the game for you? Most likely not. That's just not who he's been. Aaron Rodgers, on the other hand, has won a Super Bowl. He's been a 4-time MVP. He's been in the playoffs plenty of times. Won big games, obviously. So he's been there. He's done that. And again, this goes to show there's still some magic in that arm. Again, it won't happen all the time. He's not the guy who he used to be. I'll keep saying that. But if he has, it's I kind of think of it as that guy, as that game that the Steelers had against the Vikings in 21 in Ben's last year. In that fourth quarter, he had to put the cape on. And he still showed that even at an old age, if you've had the ability to put the cape on at one point in your career, you can still do it every now and then. There's still some Kryptonian skin cells on that superhero uniform, whatever, costume, whatever you want to say. That's the reason why. It gives them a better fighting chance, at least a puncher's chance, to try to at least win. It's not a long-term solution. The long-term solution will be in the draft next year, most likely. But at least for this year, maybe, just maybe, Rodgers can do enough to, with everything else that he'll have around him, hopefully a better running game. He definitely will have weapons with DK Metcalf and George Pickens and Pat Freiermuth. And then if the defense can not give up 300 rushing yards in a game, then maybe with all of the things together, that's the way the Steelers are viewing it, then maybe, just maybe, they have enough pieces that can all work together to make this a better football team in 2025. So that's the reason why. Anyway, this has gone on long enough. Just wanted to show these. This was really long for just four throws, so I apologize for that. But definitely wanted to try to help explain the reason why. Because a lot of people are asking why, or saying it's not worth it. This is why the Steelers think it's worth it, because that arm still got some magic in it. That's the reason why. So, have a good weekend, everybody. Catch you guys on the flippity flip. We'll see you later.